We hear about people beating the odds all the time, right?
Mhm.
But what about the strength it takes to be that support system? The one right there fighting alongside them. That's what we're diving into today.
Okay, I'm interested.
We're looking at this piece from the New York Times. It's really a daughter's tribute to her dad, a man who, well, he really embodies that kind of strength.
Okay.
So picture the Bronx in the 90s, and this single dad raising his daughter, Sarah, who has cerebral palsy.
Wow.
Yeah, you can feel like the weight of the world on them.
Right.
But there's this, like, Sarah describes their bond in a way, it's not just about him caring for her, but like a real friendship.
Yeah, how does she put it?
She actually says, quote, "He told me I was not only his daughter, but also his best friend."
Wow, that's powerful.
It really is. There's this depth to it. Goes beyond the usual father-daughter thing.
Absolutely. And thinking about the context here, the 90s, especially in the Bronx, it's not exactly known for tons of support for single dads.
Especially not back then.
Right. Let alone dads raising kids with disabilities.
It adds another layer to it, for sure.
It does, because you've got the social expectations, the stigmas, maybe,
Yeah.
all feeding into his dedication. And it wasn't just care, it was that friendship she talks about. Really makes you think about his character and what they were dealing with.
It wasn't just talk either, his commitment to her. This wasn't a dad just going through the motions. He made tough calls, like any parent, but with way tougher circumstances.
Give me an example.
Well, like the surgery Sarah needed for her cerebral palsy. This guy fought like crazy to get her into Blythedale, that hospital.
Yeah, they specialize in that, right?
Exactly. Top-notch care. And you could just picture the determination in this guy to get her there. But that,
said, but coming.
oh yeah, here's where it gets really interesting. He decides to pull her out of Blythedale.
What? But that's the best of the best. Why would he?
Right. And this was not a light decision, this hospital. For a lot of families, it's like the answer, the hope, everything.
So for him to go against that, to trust his gut over those experts.
It really shows how deeply he understood what Sarah needed, like beyond what even that institution could provide. He realized a fancy setting doesn't equal the best learning environment. Her well-being, the whole picture, that's what mattered most to him, not just the prestige of the place.
You've really got to have courage to do that, to put her individual needs, her education, above what everyone else says is the best.
And he was proving a point. This wasn't just medical. It was about Sarah thriving.
I'm with you, so what happened? I'm with you, so what happened?
Well, his gut was spot on.
Hmm.
Because he pushed so hard, Sarah ended up becoming, get this, the very first disabled student at her new school.
Wow, so he wasn't just changing things for Sarah.
Not even close. He was challenging the whole system, making things more inclusive, setting the stage for other families who might have felt totally alone.
It's like one person really can make a difference when they question the rules and demand better. It's inspiring.
It is. But this is where the story takes kind of a sad turn. The article talks about how he actually loses custody of Sarah, and tragically he passes away when she's only 11.
Oh, that's awful, losing him so young.
It's heartbreaking, right? It reminds you how fragile things are. But what gets me is Sarah doesn't talk about it with bitterness. It's like she focuses on the legacy he left.
What does she focus on? Not possessions or anything like that, I imagine.
Not at all. It's more about, like, his actions, the everyday stuff,
Mm.
their memories together, the way he made her feel valued.
Yeah.
That's what defines him for her.
Makes you think, right? That true legacy isn't what you own, but who you are and the people you touch.
It's that love you give, the sacrifices, the values. This man's story, yeah, it's personal, but it goes beyond that. It's like this universal need to leave a mark that outlives us.
Definitely. And Sarah, losing him so young, but still finding that positive.
There's something powerful there, right? It makes you wonder, how do some people, even with all that hardship, find that strength? What did her dad give her, maybe without even realizing it, that helped her deal with such a loss?
Had to be something in those everyday moments.
Those acts of love, believing in her, that wasn't just him being a dad. It was like building blocks, this foundation of resilience inside her that lasted long after he was gone.
So true. And it wasn't just Sarah who felt it.
You're right. Even years later, people in their old neighborhood still knew Sarah as John's daughter.
Think about that. That's years later. Shows how he affected their community.
That's the thing about genuine connection. That ripple effect keeps going. His love for Sarah, the fight he put up for her, it became part of their community's fabric. Like this reminder that even in the everyday chaos, kindness and love, they don't fade away.
Powerful stuff. But you said there was more to this story. A chance encounter.
There is. It's actually kind of wild. Years later, Sarah's at the Bronx courthouse, right? She's sorting out papers from her adoption. And just by chance, she meets a woman who worked on her parents' custody case.
No way. What are the odds?
Talk about a blast from the past. Someone who saw a huge part of her life just out of the blue.
So what happened? Did they talk about it?
Oh, yeah. And this is where it gets interesting. The woman, she remembers Sarah's name, the whole case. But then she goes a step further, tells Sarah that she always felt her dad got a raw deal from the system.
Really? Because he was a man fighting for custody.
That seemed to be a big part of it, yeah. This woman, even back then, she was impressed by how hard he fought for Sarah.
Wow. So years later, this random meeting gives Sarah this whole other perspective.
It really makes you think, how often do we judge without knowing the full story?
All the time, probably.
Right. And for Sarah, it wasn't just about the past. It was like this confirmation of her dad's love, his dedication, even someone just doing their job. They saw how much he cared.
It's a good reminder to stay open-minded, to give people the benefit of the doubt. You never know what's really going on.
Exactly. And you know, what really sticks with me about Sarah's story is she doesn't end it with the hard times.
Yeah.
It's all about her dad's love, how it never faded.
And how she's honoring his memory.
By living a life that reflects his values. Exactly. Like the best way to thank someone who shaped you is to take their lessons to heart. So it makes you wonder, who are those people in our own lives? The ones who, just by being themselves, made us who we are.
And how do we honor them? Not just by remembering, but by really living what they taught us.
That's the question, isn't it? Maybe that's a good place to leave it with that thought. This deep dive has really made me think about the people we've lost and how their love lives on through us. Thanks for diving into this with me today. It's been, well, pretty powerful.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.